Hi guys, welcome to our English podcast video number 7, where we talk about tourism and travel. I'll be your guide and I'll use simple words to explain things so everyone can understand. In this episode, we've got something special lined up. We're going to discover 15 unique sections, each offering a glimpse into a different aspect of tourism and travel. So buckle up and get ready to embark on a journey through destinations, culture, tips, and so much more. It's going to be an adventure-packed ride you won't want to miss. Section 1: Understanding why travel and tourism matter today. Tourism and travel are like magic keys that unlock the doors to a world full of wonders and opportunities. In today's world, they play a crucial role in many ways, bringing people closer together, boosting economies, and creating unforgettable memories. Firstly, let's talk about how tourism and travel bring people together. When we travel, we meet people from different backgrounds, countries, cultures, and ways of life. We get to see the world through their eyes, learn about their traditions, and share experiences. This helps us understand and appreciate diversity. By interacting with people from different parts of the world, we build bridges of friendship and understanding that transcend borders and boundaries. Also, tourism and travel are really important for economies everywhere. When people travel, they spend money on lots of things like hotels, food, gifts, and fun activities. This helps businesses and creates jobs for local people. In many places, tourism brings in a lot of money, which helps improve things like roads, buildings, and parks. It also helps keep traditions alive and protects nature. For example, places that lots of people visit often work on making things better, like making transportation easier or adding cool stuff to see. This helps them get even more visitors and makes their economy stronger. Also, when we travel, we grow and learn. We leave our cozy spots and go to new places, which can be scary, but it's good for us. We get to know different cultures, histories, and ways of life. This helps us understand things better and see the world in a new way. When we travel, we learn new things and get interested in what's around us. It's like a spark that makes us think of cool ideas. Also, it helps us get better at talking to people, handling new stuff, and fixing problems. These are good skills to have, not only in our regular lives, but also at work. So traveling isn't just enjoyable, it also helps us become better. Tourism and travel aren't just good for making money and having fun. They also help take care of our environment. Sometimes, lots of people visiting places can be bad for nature, but it also gives us a chance to look after the environment. Some countries have really beautiful nature and animals, so they work hard to keep them safe. They do things like being careful with how they treat wildlife, making less trash, and involving local communities. These actions help protect nature and make sure we can enjoy it for a long time. Also, when we travel and visit old places like museums or special events, we learn about history and help keep these places alive. Tourism makes people want to keep their traditions and languages because they're important for visitors. When we share our culture with others, it helps us understand and respect each other more. This way, we make sure our world's special cultures stay around for a long time. To sum up, tourism and travel are really important in our world. They bring people together, help economies, and make life better. If we use them wisely and think about the environment, we can make sure everyone gets the chance to enjoy them. we can create a world where everyone has the chance to explore, learn, and grow. So let's pack our bags, open our hearts, and embark on a journey of discovery and adventure, for the world is waiting to be explored. Section 2. What is my favorite thing about traveling? Traveling is like stepping into a whole new world. There are so many amazing things to see and do, and each journey is filled with excitement and adventure. But if I had to pick just one thing that I love most about traveling, it would have to be the people. When you travel, you meet so many interesting and friendly people from all walks of life. Whether it's striking up a conversation with a fellow traveler on a train, or sharing a meal with a local family in a foreign country, the connections you make along the way are what truly make the journey memorable. One of my favorite things about traveling is getting to learn about different cultures and traditions. Every country has its own unique customs and way of life, and I love immersing myself in the local culture wherever I go. From participating in traditional ceremonies to trying new foods and learning new languages, every experience helps me gain a deeper understanding of the world around me. Another thing I love about traveling is the sense of freedom and adventure it brings. When you're on the road, you never know what's around the next corner. Whether it's stumbling upon a hidden gem of a restaurant or discovering a breathtaking view from a mountaintop, there's always something new and exciting waiting to be discovered. One of the greatest things about traveling is how it shows you how amazing our world is. When you see tall mountains, shining oceans, and old buildings, you can't help but feel amazed. Traveling makes me realize how big and different our planet is, and how many cool things there are to see and learn about. Of course, traveling isn't always easy. There are challenges and obstacles along the way, from unfamiliar streets to dealing with language barriers and cultural differences. But overcoming these challenges is part of what makes the journey so rewarding. It forces you to step outside of your comfort zone and grow as a person. And in the end, you emerge stronger and more confident than before. But perhaps the greatest joy of traveling is the friendships you make along the way. Whether it's meeting other travelers and sharing stories, or getting to know people from different places, the friendships you make while traveling are really special. They can make your journey even more fun and memorable. These connections with people from around the world can leave a big mark on your heart that stays with you long after your travels are over. In conclusion, while there are many things to love about traveling, for me, it's the people that make the journey truly special. From the friendships you make along the way, to the connections you form with people from different cultures and backgrounds, the people you meet on your travels are what make the experience truly unforgettable. So here's to the people who make traveling such a joy. May your journeys be filled with laughter, friendship, and endless adventures. Section 3. Exploring big cities or quiet countryside. Which is better? When you go traveling, do you like busy cities or peaceful countryside places? Both have cool things, but they're different. Let's talk about what's awesome about each. First, let's talk about big cities. Big cities are like super busy ant hills. There's always something happening. Tall buildings, bright lights, and lots of people rushing around. It's like being in a big, exciting party where everyone's invited. One thing that's cool about cities is all the different stuff you can do. You can try yummy foods from all over the world, buy neat things in stores, or just walk around and look at all the cool buildings. Each street has its own story, and you can find fun surprises around every corner. Cities are also places where lots of people from different cultures live. That means you can learn about new traditions, hear different languages, and try things you've never done before. It's like taking a trip around the world without leaving the city. But even in the busiest cities, you can find peaceful spots. Maybe it's a quiet park or a cozy cafe where you can sit and relax. Sometimes just looking at the city lights from far away can make you feel calm and happy. How about quiet countryside? The countryside is like a big, peaceful playground made by nature. Instead of tall buildings, you'll see green fields, rolling hills, and maybe even a cute little village or two. It's like being in a fairy tale. One of the best things about the countryside is all the nature. You can go for walks in the woods, ride a bike down country roads, or splash in a clear, cool stream. There are animals to watch, flowers to pick, and trees to climb. It's like being in your own adventure story. In the countryside, things move slower. There's no rush, and you can take your time enjoying the simple things. Maybe you'll have a picnic in a meadow, read a book by a cozy fireplace, or count the stars in the sky at night. It's a chance to relax and appreciate the beauty of nature. So which is better? Well, that's up to you. Both big cities and quiet countryside places have their own special magic. Maybe you like the excitement of the city or the peace of the countryside, or maybe you love them both for different reasons. Wherever you go, just remember to enjoy the adventure and make lots of happy memories. After all, that's what traveling is all about, finding joy in new places and experiences. Section 4. Souvenir Stories. Cherished Memories from Laos. I love collecting souvenirs from my travels. Each one holds a special memory and reminds me of the amazing adventures I've had around the world. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would have to be the small wooden elephant I picked up on a trip to Laos. Laos is a beautiful country in Southeast Asia, known for its stunning landscapes, rich culture, and warm hospitality. I had been dreaming of visiting Laos for years, so when the opportunity arose, I couldn't wait to explore this enchanting land. During my time in Laos, I had the chance to visit an elephant sanctuary. Elephants are revered in Lao culture, and I was excited to see these majestic creatures up close. As I watched them roam freely in their natural habitat, I was struck by their intelligence, grace, and gentle nature. After spending the day with the elephants, I stumbled upon a small market in the nearby village. It was filled with colorful stalls selling all sorts of handmade crafts and trinkets. As I browsed the stalls, my eyes were drawn to a beautiful wooden elephant figurine. The elephant was intricately carved from dark wood and adorned with delicate details. Its trunk was raised high in the air, a symbol of good luck and prosperity in Lao culture. I knew I had to have it. I purchased the elephant and carefully wrapped it up to bring home with me. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded of the incredible time I had in Laos and the unforgettable experiences I shared with the elephants. But more than just a reminder of my travels, the wooden elephant holds a deeper meaning for me. It serves as a symbol of strength, resilience, and the importance of protecting our planet and its precious wildlife. In Laos, elephants face numerous threats, including habitat loss, poaching, and exploitation for tourism. Visiting the sanctuary and learning about these issues firsthand was a powerful reminder of the importance of conservation and responsible tourism. Now, whenever I look at the wooden elephant sitting on my shelf, I'm reminded of the incredible animals I met in Laos and the important lessons they taught me about compassion, respect, and the beauty of the natural world. While I may collect many souvenirs from my travels, my favorite will always be the small wooden elephant from Laos. It's not just a trinket, it's a symbol of my love for travel, my commitment to conservation, and the amazing experiences that await us when we open ourselves to new adventures. Section 5. My Solo Adventures, Exploring the World on My Own. Yes, I've traveled solo before, and it was an experience I'll never forget. Traveling alone can be both exciting and daunting, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Here's a glimpse into my solo adventures and the places I've explored on my own. One of my first solo trips was to Japan. I had always dreamed of visiting this beautiful country with its stunning landscapes, rich history, and fascinating culture. So I packed my bags and set off on an adventure of a lifetime. My first stop was Tokyo, the bustling capital city. Navigating the busy streets and bustling neighborhoods was a bit overwhelming at first, but I soon found my rhythm and began to immerse myself in the sights and sounds of the city. From exploring ancient temples to sampling delicious street food, every moment was an adventure. Next, I ventured to Kyoto, a city known for its beautiful temples, traditional tea houses, and serene gardens. I spent my days wandering through the historic streets of Gion, taking in the sights and sounds of this ancient city. I also had the opportunity to visit iconic landmarks such as Kinkakuji, the Golden Pavilion, and Fushimi Inari Shrine, where I hiked through thousands of vibrant torii gates. After Kyoto, I traveled to Hiroshima, a city with a tragic past and a hopeful future. Visiting the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park and Museum was a sobering experience, but it was also a reminder of the resilience and strength of the human spirit. But perhaps the most memorable part of my solo journey was the people I met along the way. From fellow travelers to locals, I was constantly surrounded by new faces and fascinating stories. Whether it was sharing a meal with strangers at a local izakaya or striking up a conversation with a friendly shopkeeper, each interaction enriched my experience and left me with a deeper appreciation for the kindness and hospitality of the Japanese people. Another solo adventure took me to Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost island, known for its stunning natural beauty and delicious seafood. I spent my days exploring national parks, soaking in hot springs, and sampling fresh sushi and sashimi. It was a peaceful and rejuvenating experience, far removed from the hustle and bustle of city life. Throughout my solo travels in Japan, I've learned a lot about myself and the world around me. I've discovered that I'm capable of more than I ever thought possible, from navigating foreign cities to overcoming language barriers and cultural differences. I've also learned to embrace the freedom and independence that comes with solo travel, and to appreciate the beauty of solitude and self-discovery. But perhaps the most important lesson I've learned is that solo travel is not just about seeing new places. It's about experiencing them in a way that's uniquely your own. It's about stepping out of your comfort zone, opening yourself up to new experiences, and embracing the unknown. And in doing so, you'll not only discover the world, but you'll also discover yourself. Section 6. Making Friends Around the World. My adventures in friendship while traveling. Traveling is an exciting adventure. When you go to new places, you meet new people. Sometimes these people become your friends. Let me tell you about my experience. I love to travel. It's like stepping into a whole new world. I've been to many places, and in each one I've met amazing people. One time, I went to Thailand. It's a beautiful country with lots of friendly people. I was walking through a busy street market when I saw a group of children playing. They looked like they were having so much fun, so I went over and started playing with them. We didn't speak the same language, but we didn't need to. Laughter is a language everyone understands. In Japan, I stayed in a small guest house run by a local family. They were so kind and welcoming. We couldn't communicate well because my Japanese is not very good, but they made me feel at home. We shared meals together and went for walks in the countryside. It was a special experience that I'll never forget. Another time, I went on a hiking trip in Peru. I met a group of travelers from different countries. We were all hiking the same trail, so we decided to stick together. Along the way, we shared stories about our lives and laughed at each other's jokes. It was amazing how quickly we bonded, even though we came from different parts of the world. When I was in Italy, I joined a cooking class. The instructor was a local chef who was passionate about Italian cuisine. She taught us how to make pasta from scratch and shared her family recipes with us. As we chopped, stirred, and laughed together, we became friends. After the class, we went out for gelato and continued our conversation. It was a delicious and delightful day. Traveling has taught me that friendship knows no borders. No matter where you go, there are people waiting to welcome you with open arms. All you have to do is be open to new experiences and willing to connect with others. Sometimes making friends while traveling is as simple as striking up a conversation with the person sitting next to you on the bus or sharing a meal with a local family. Other times, it takes a bit more effort, like joining a group activity or attending a cultural event. But no matter how you do it, the connections you make while traveling can enrich your life in ways you never imagined. So if you ever find yourself in a new place, don't be afraid to reach out and make new friends. You never know what amazing adventures await you when you open your heart to the world. Section 7. Feeling the difference. My experience with culture shock in Japan. Yes, I have experienced culture shock while traveling. Culture shock happens when you encounter unfamiliar customs, behaviors, and ways of life that are different from your own. It can be disorienting and overwhelming at first, but it's also an opportunity to learn and grow. One of the most memorable experiences of culture shock for me was during a trip to Japan. Japan is a fascinating country with a rich history and unique cultural traditions. From the moment I arrived, I was struck by the contrasts between the familiar and the unfamiliar. One of the first things I noticed was the language barrier. Japanese is a complex language with its own writing system, and as someone who only spoke English, I found it challenging to communicate with locals. Simple tasks like ordering food or asking for directions became daunting challenges, and I often felt frustrated and helpless. Another aspect of Japanese culture that took some getting used to was the concept of personal space. In Japan, people tend to stand much closer together than they do in Western countries, and physical contact is less common. As someone who was used to a greater degree of personal space, I found this aspect of Japanese culture to be somewhat uncomfortable at first. Food was another area where I experienced culture shock. Japanese cuisine is vastly different from what I was used to, and some of the dishes I encountered were unlike anything I had ever tasted before. From sushi and sashimi to ramen and tempura, I was constantly amazed by the variety and complexity of Japanese food. But perhaps the biggest culture shock for me was the concept of etiquette and social norms in Japan. In Japanese culture, there are many unwritten rules and customs that govern social interactions. And as a foreigner, I often found myself inadvertently breaking these rules. For example, I quickly learned that it's considered rude to speak loudly in public or to eat and drink while walking. I also had to get used to the idea of removing my shoes before entering someone's home or certain public spaces, such as temples and traditional ryokan inns. Despite the challenges of culture shock, my experiences in Japan were incredibly rewarding. By immersing myself in the local culture and embracing new experiences, I was able to learn and grow in ways I never thought possible. I gained a deeper appreciation for the beauty and complexity of Japanese culture, and I made lifelong memories and friendships along the way. Culture shock can be hard sometimes, but it's part of traveling. When we go to new places, we might feel uncomfortable because things are different from what we're used to. But that's okay. It's a chance to learn and grow. When we try new things and see the world from different perspectives, we become more open-minded and understanding. It's like opening a door to a whole new world of experiences and opportunities. Even though culture shock can be tough, it helps us become better people and makes our travels more meaningful. So the next time you find yourself in a foreign land, don't be afraid to embrace the unknown. You never know what amazing adventures await you on the other side of culture shock. Section 8. A Tale of Travel, My Favorite Memory on the Road. One of my favorite travel memories happened on a trip to Vietnam. Vietnam is a beautiful country in Southeast Asia known for its stunning landscapes, delicious food, and rich culture. I had been dreaming of visiting Vietnam for years, so when the opportunity arose, I jumped at the chance. My journey began in the bustling city of Ho Chi Minh City, formerly known as Saigon. From the moment I arrived, I was captivated by the hustle and bustle of this vibrant metropolis. Everywhere I looked, there was something new and exciting to discover. From bustling markets selling exotic fruits to ancient temples filled with history. But it wasn't until I ventured outside the city limits that I truly fell in love with Vietnam. One day, I decided to take a trip to the Mekong Delta, a vast network of rivers and canals that stretches across southern Vietnam. As our boat meandered along the waterways, I marveled at the lush greenery and serene beauty of the delta. After a few hours of sailing, we arrived at a small village nestled on the banks of the river. The villagers welcomed us with open arms, eager to share their way of life with curious travelers like myself. We spent the day exploring the village, sampling local delicacies, and learning about the villagers' customs and traditions. As the sun began to set, the villagers invited us to join them for a traditional Vietnamese dinner. We sat on low stools around a communal table, surrounded by the comforting aroma of simmering broths and sizzling meats. The villagers regaled us with stories of their ancestors and shared their hopes and dreams for the future. As we ate, the villagers entertained us with traditional music and dance performances. They taught us traditional Vietnamese dances and encouraged us to join in the festivities. Despite the language barrier, we laughed and danced together late into the night, united by the universal language of music and laughter. When I looked around at the smiling faces of my newfound friends, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and contentment wash over me. In that moment, surrounded by strangers who had become like family, I realized the true beauty of travel. The ability to connect with people from different backgrounds and cultures, and to forge meaningful connections that transcend language and borders. When the night drew to a close and it was time to say goodbye, I felt a pang of sadness, knowing that our time together was coming to an end. But as I hugged each villager farewell, I knew that I would carry the memories of that magical evening with me wherever I went. That day in the Mekong Delta remains one of my favorite travel memories, a reminder of the power of human connection and the joy that comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone and embracing new experiences. And as I continue to journey through life, I am grateful for the lessons I learned and the friendships I made along the way. Section 9. Dreaming of New Zealand. Making friends along the way. Have you ever wished you could go to a place that feels like a magical storybook? For me, that place is New Zealand. It's full of amazing scenery, friendly people, and interesting culture. I've always wanted to go there, but I haven't had the chance yet. Let me tell you why I want to go and how I've learned that making friends while traveling is easy and fun. When I was young, I loved reading about far-off places and exciting adventures. New Zealand, with its mountains, lakes, and forests, fascinated me. I imagined myself exploring its beautiful landscapes and meeting new people. But as I got older, I didn't get the chance to go. Life got busy, and my dream of visiting New Zealand stayed just a dream. Still, I didn't stop exploring closer to home. One of my best travel memories happened in Thailand. I've always been interested in its culture and food, so when I got the chance to visit, I was excited. Little did I know that this trip would show me how easy it is to make friends while traveling. When I arrived in Bangkok, I was amazed by how friendly everyone was. People smiled and said hello wherever I went. One evening, I met a group of travelers on a beach in Krabi. We started talking, and before I knew it, we were sharing stories and laughing together. Even though we were from different places, we connected over our love of adventure. By the end of the night, we had become friends. Moments like these showed me that travel is about more than just going to new places. It's about meeting people and learning from them. Even though I haven't been to New Zealand yet, I know that when I do go, I'll meet amazing people there too. So while I dream of visiting New Zealand one day, I'm grateful for the friendships I've made along the way. Traveling has taught me that making friends is as simple as saying hello and being open to new experiences. And who knows, maybe one day I'll meet a friend from New Zealand and we'll share stories of our adventures together. Section 10. The Little Joys of Travel. Finding happiness in the unseen. When we think of traveling, we often picture famous landmarks and exciting adventures. But in my experience, the most underrated part of traveling is the small moments of joy that come from unexpected places. One of the best things about traveling is meeting new people. When I went to Spain, I met a local artist who showed me around her city. We spent the day exploring hidden alleys and chatting about life. It was a simple day, but it made me feel like I belonged. Another underrated aspect of traveling is trying new foods. In Thailand, I tried street food for the first time. It was spicy and delicious, and I'll never forget the taste of fresh mango sticky rice. Food has a way of bringing people together and creating memories that last a lifetime. Traveling also opens your eyes to the beauty of nature. When I visited Norway, I took a hike through the mountains. The air was crisp and the views were breathtaking. It made me appreciate the world around me in a whole new way. But perhaps the most underrated part of traveling is the sense of freedom it brings. When you're on the road, you're free to be whoever you want to be. You can leave behind the worries of everyday life and embrace new experiences with an open heart. In conclusion, while famous landmarks and exciting adventures are certainly part of the allure of traveling, it's the little joys that make the journey truly special. Whether it's making new friends, trying new foods, or simply taking in the beauty of nature, these underrated moments are what make traveling so magical. Section 11. A Taste of Adventure. My most memorable meals from around the world. One of the most memorable meals I had was in Thailand, by the beach in Krabi. It was a beautiful day with the sun shining and the waves crashing gently against the shore. I found a cozy spot under a colorful umbrella and decided to try pad thai, a popular Thai dish. The flavors were unlike anything I had tasted before. It was tangy, spicy, and bursting with freshness. Each bite was a delightful combination of flavors and textures, and I couldn't help but smile as I savored every mouthful. In Rome, Italy, I went to a cozy pizza place on a quiet street. When I walked in, I could smell the yummy dough baking. I ordered a margherita pizza, which is a classic one with tomatoes, cheese, and basil. When I took the first bite, it was amazing. The crust was crispy outside and soft inside. The cheese was so creamy, and the tomatoes were sweet. It tasted like Italy, and it's a flavor I'll always remember. In Tokyo, Japan, I went to a special sushi restaurant. The chef made each sushi piece right in front of me using super fresh ingredients. I watched him carefully cut and add seasoning to the fish, making each piece look like a tiny masterpiece. When I tried it, I couldn't believe how good it tasted. The fish was really fresh and soft, and the rice was just right. It was like nothing I've ever had before, and it made me love Japanese food even more. In Morocco, I had a yummy meal called tagine in Marrakech. It's a special dish they cook in a clay pot with meat, veggies, and spices. I went to a busy market where they sell lots of colorful spices and herbs. Then, I sat at a small cafe and ordered a lamb tagine. It came to my table hot and smelled so good. Inside there was tender meat, sweet apricots, and tasty olives. The flavors were strong and yummy, with a little bit of cinnamon, cumin, and saffron. It was a meal that made me feel happy and warm inside, and I wanted to eat more of it. In Mexico City, I had some really tasty tacos. There's a place called a taqueria where they make them. I went to a busy one in the middle of the city. It smelled so good with all the meat cooking and fresh tortillas. I tried different kinds of tacos like carne asada, al pastor, and carnitas. Each one was better than the last. The meat was juicy, the tortillas were soft, and the toppings were fresh. It was like a party in my mouth, and it made me want more Mexican food. In Jaipur, India, I had a really yummy meal. India has lots of different kinds of tasty food, and I was happy to try some. I went to a local restaurant that's famous for its Indian food. The smell of spices filled the air, making me hungry. I ordered some butter chicken curry, aloo gobi, and garlic naan. I also had a mango lassi to drink, which was really refreshing. The food was full of flavor with lots of different spices that made my taste buds happy. Each bite was so good that I couldn't stop eating. It was a delicious meal, and I felt lucky to get to try the amazing food from India. Lastly, in Paris, France, I indulged in buttery croissants in a quaint bakery. Paris is known for its delicious pastries, and I couldn't resist trying some for myself. I visited a charming bakery tucked away in a quiet neighborhood where the smell of buttery pastry wafted through the air. I ordered a croissant and a cup of strong coffee, and I sat down at a small table by the window to enjoy my breakfast. The croissant was light and flaky, with layers of buttery goodness that melted in my mouth with each bite. It was a simple pleasure that reminded me of the beauty of slow mornings and delicious food. Each of these meals holds a special place in my heart, not just because of the delicious flavors, but because of the memories and experiences that came with them. From beachside feasts to traditional delicacies, each meal was a celebration of the diverse and rich tapestry of culinary delights our world has to offer. Section 12. Planning versus going with the flow. Finding the right balance for travel. I don't mind planning ahead a bit before I travel, but I also like to leave some room for spontaneity. It's all about finding the right balance between having a plan and being flexible. When I plan my trips, I like to do some research beforehand to get an idea of what I want to see and do. I'll look up attractions, read reviews, and make a rough itinerary of places I want to visit. This helps me make the most of my time and ensures that I don't miss out on any must-see sites. But I also know that things don't always go according to plan when you're traveling. Sometimes you discover new places or meet new people that you hadn't anticipated, and those moments can end up being the highlight of your trip. That's why I like to leave some flexibility in my schedule so that I can go with the flow and take advantage of any unexpected opportunities that come my way. For example, when I was in Paris, I had a list of all the famous landmarks that I wanted to visit, like the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre. But one day, I stumbled upon a charming little cafe tucked away on a quiet street, and I ended up spending the whole afternoon there, sipping coffee and people watching. It wasn't something I had planned, but it ended up being one of my favorite memories from the trip. On the other hand, there are times when having a solid plan can be really helpful, especially if you're traveling to a destination with limited time or resources. For example, when I went hiking in the Swiss Alps, I had to plan my route carefully to make sure I had enough time to reach the summit and get back before dark. Having a clear plan helped me stay on track and ensure that I didn't get lost or run into any unexpected obstacles along the way. Ultimately, I think the key to successful travel is finding the right balance between planning and spontaneity. It's important to have a rough idea of what you want to do and see, but it's also important to be flexible and open to new experiences. After all, some of the best memories from my travels have come from moments that I never could have planned for. So whether you're a meticulous planner or more of a go-with-the-flow type, the most important thing is to embrace the journey and enjoy the ride. Section 13. Peak versus off-peak travel. Making the most of your adventures. First, let me explain something. What is peak and off-peak time? Off-peak times refer to periods of the year when there are fewer tourists visiting a destination compared to peak times. These are typically times when schools are in session or weather conditions may not be as favorable for travel. Off-peak times vary depending on the destination, but often include months outside of major holiday seasons or popular vacation times. During off-peak times, attractions, accommodations, and transportation may be less crowded and sometimes less expensive compared to peak times. For me, when it comes to traveling, I prefer to go during off-peak times rather than peak tourist seasons. There are a few reasons for this, and I'll explain them using simple English. Firstly, traveling during off-peak times means fewer crowds. This is a big advantage for me because I don't like crowded places. When there are too many people around, it can feel overwhelming and stressful. I prefer to explore at my own pace without having to navigate through throngs of tourists or wait in long lines. During off-peak times, attractions are usually less crowded, allowing me to enjoy a more peaceful and relaxed experience. Another reason I prefer off-peak travel is because it's often cheaper. During peak tourist seasons, prices for flights, accommodation, and activities tend to be higher due to increased demand. By traveling during off-peak times, I can take advantage of lower prices and potentially save a lot of money. This means I can travel more often and for longer periods without breaking the bank. Additionally, traveling during off-peak times allows me to experience destinations in a more authentic way. When there are fewer tourists around, I have the opportunity to interact more with locals and immerse myself in the local culture. I can visit popular attractions without feeling rushed or crowded, and I can discover hidden gems that aren't overrun with tourists. This gives me a more genuine and meaningful travel experience, as I can truly connect with the destination and its people. Of course, there are some disadvantages to traveling during off-peak times as well. One downside is that certain attractions or services may be closed or limited during the off-peak season. For example, some restaurants, shops, or tours may have reduced hours or availability. This means I may need to do some extra research and planning to ensure that everything I want to do is open and accessible during my trip. Weather can also be a factor when traveling during off-peak times. In some destinations, off-peak seasons coincide with less favorable weather conditions, such as rainy seasons or extreme temperatures. While this can be a drawback, it can also present opportunities for unique experiences, such as witnessing local festivals or enjoying activities that are only available during certain times of the year. Overall, I believe that traveling during off-peak times offers many advantages that outweigh the potential drawbacks. From fewer crowds and lower prices to more authentic experiences and unique opportunities, off-peak travel allows me to make the most of my adventures in a way that suits my preferences and budget. While peak tourist seasons may have their appeal for some travelers, I'll continue to opt for the quieter, more affordable, and more authentic experiences that off-peak travel has to offer. Section 14. Finding the best way to travel. My favorite mode of transportation for long distances. When it comes to traveling long distances, I have a favorite mode of transportation that I always prefer. I'll explain why I like it using simple English. My favorite way to travel long distances is by train. There are a few reasons why I prefer trains over other modes of transportation like planes, buses, or cars. Firstly, traveling by train is comfortable. The seats are usually spacious, and there's plenty of legroom to stretch out and relax. I can walk around and move about freely, unlike on a plane where I feel cramped and confined to my seat. This makes the journey much more enjoyable and less stressful. Another reason I like traveling by train is the scenery. Train routes often pass through beautiful landscapes and scenic countryside that you just can't see from a plane or a car. I love looking out the window and watching the world go by, whether it's rolling hills, towering mountains, or picturesque villages. It's like having a moving picture show right outside your window. Additionally, traveling by train is more environmentally friendly than other modes of transportation. Trains produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions per passenger mile compared to cars or planes, making them a more sustainable choice for long-distance travel. This is important to me because I try to reduce my carbon footprint whenever possible, and taking the train is one way I can do that. One of the things I enjoy most about traveling by train is the sense of adventure and nostalgia it evokes. There's something romantic and old-fashioned about train travel that appeals to me. It reminds me of a bygone era when travel was slower and more leisurely, and people took the time to enjoy the journey as much as the destination. Traveling by train allows me to slow down and appreciate the journey, rather than rushing to get to my destination as quickly as possible. Of course, there are some situations where traveling by plane is necessary, especially for long distances between continents. When I need to travel across oceans or to faraway destinations, flying is often the fastest and most practical option. While I enjoy the comfort and relaxation of train travel, I understand that planes are sometimes necessary for certain journeys. Overall, I believe that traveling by train is the best way to travel long distances. From the comfort and spaciousness of the seats to the breathtaking scenery and environmental benefits, trains offer a unique and enjoyable travel experience that can't be matched by other modes of transportation. So the next time I have to travel a long distance within a continent, you'll find me on board a train, enjoying the journey every step of the way. Section 15, Valuable Travel Tips, Advice that made my journeys better. The best travel advice I've ever received is to pack light and stay flexible. This advice has helped me have smoother and more enjoyable trips, and I'll explain why it's important using simple English. Firstly, packing light means bringing only the essentials and leaving behind anything that I don't really need. This makes traveling much easier and less stressful because I don't have to worry about lugging around heavy bags or dealing with excessive baggage fees. Instead, I can move around more freely and enjoy my trip without feeling weighed down by unnecessary belongings. Staying flexible is also crucial when traveling because things don't always go according to plan. Flights get delayed, attractions close unexpectedly, and weather conditions can change at a moment's notice. By staying flexible and open-minded, I can adapt to these changes more easily and make the most of whatever situation I find myself in. Another piece of advice that has served me well is to do my research before I travel. This means learning about the destination, its culture, customs, and any potential risks or challenges I may encounter. By doing my homework ahead of time, I can avoid any unpleasant surprises and feel more prepared for my trip. One of the most important things I've learned is to be respectful and mindful of the local culture and customs. This means dressing modestly, following local customs and traditions, and being courteous to the people I meet. By showing respect and appreciation for the local culture, I can make meaningful connections and have more authentic travel experiences. Another valuable piece of advice is to be mindful of my safety and well-being while traveling. This means taking precautions to protect myself and my belongings, such as keeping an eye on my valuables, avoiding risky situations, and staying aware of my surroundings. By staying vigilant and cautious, I can reduce the likelihood of encountering any problems or dangers while traveling. One of the most important pieces of advice I've received is to be open to new experiences and embrace the unexpected. Traveling is all about stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things, whether it's sampling exotic foods, learning a new language, or exploring unfamiliar places. By embracing the unknown and staying open-minded, I can make the most of my travels and create memories that will last a lifetime. Overall, the best travel advice I've ever received is to pack light, stay flexible, and be open to new experiences. By following this advice, I've been able to have smoother, more enjoyable trips and make the most of every opportunity that comes my way. So the next time you're planning a trip, remember to pack light, stay flexible, and embrace the adventure that awaits you. As we conclude this journey through the world of tourism and travel, we've explored 15 captivating sections together, each filled with insights, stories, and inspirations to fuel your wanderlust. From the bustling streets of vibrant cities to the serene landscapes of tranquil countryside, we've delved into the heart of exploration and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting explorations, travel tips, and destination guides. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know about our latest adventures and join a community of fellow travelers eager to share their stories and experiences. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey, and see you in the next podcast video.